Who wanna go? Who wanna go? Who wanna go late night chat? Who want a late night chat in this mother? Oops. Hey, YouTube with the bull. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect nobody to join in. I'm pretty sure half y'all sleep. A lot of my people be on the East Coast, Midwest, or overseas. But for those who choose to rock with me right now, we gonna get it in late night. So, what happens when you die? You know, I always meant to do this video. I never thought it was appropriate, so I never did it. I was actually contemplating on doing it and putting it on the website because I didn't feel like this type of information should be played with. You know what I mean? Everybody, ain't really ready to hear this type of, you know what I'm saying? But due to the certain circumstances that have happened in the last year, I think that it's appropriate to start addressing it. Now, mind you, you know, uh, and what I mean by the situations that have happened in the last year, I'm talking about these major deaths that have affected multiple people on deep levels. Australia checking in. I see you. I see you. Word. I appreciate you. So, um, with the deaths of Nipsey Hussle over here in the States, happened last year, with the recent death of Kobe Bryant that recently happened, I think this month. Time is weird now. We're gonna touch on time too. And with the most recent death of Pop Smoke from New York, who tragically met his demise over here on the West Coast, in Hollywood. Y'all better stop thinking it's sweet over here. It's not. Takashi got a lot of people thinking that, you can go anywhere, especially coming to the West Coast. It really is not a game. If you don't really understand how we moving, it's not a game. And unfortunately, that young man, only what, 20, 21, 20, met his demise here on the West Side. God bless the dead. Um, so I thought it was appropriate to start addressing this because we're seeing it more often and it's affecting us harder and deeper. Okay, so it's time to start addressing it. Um, you got to understand that everybody has numbers and numerology attached to their being. You know what I'm saying? So, before people start breaking down Pop Smoke's death and calling it a sacrifice or something like that, there's always numbers attached to everybody. And I touched on this in the last video, so pay attention to your own numbers while you here. Pay attention to your own numbers while you here. All right. Um, Jumping into the subject. Now, for someone who has not remembered their death, myself, it can be called pseudo to even speak on the subject of what happens after you die. But just to, bring it all home and try to build a solid foundation of this conversation, um, you have to, first of all, channel this type of information because it is beyond the physical form. So this is an old channel that I've gotten a long time ago that I'm just now reporting on. So this, don't be alarmed and don't think that none of this is pseudo. You can't prove any of this stuff, but it's ironic that the channel that I got on this subject has been talked about before. You know what I'm saying? So after I got the channel and then finding out more things, um, you know, Egyptian Book of the Dead type stuff, Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's pretty much the same thing. I think Stellar Regime talked about that. Yeah. Um, so I've never read those books before I got the channel, and after I got the channel, I start seeing that there's common themes, and I didn't get it from a book. So there's something there. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm basing this off of, just for those people who like to be naysayers. You know what I mean? So excuse me, I'm kind of getting over a little bit of a, a bug. That's why I haven't dropped no videos, because I've been kind of under the weather for a minute. So, anyhow, I'm going to push through the video. Now, what we're seeing, as far as the deaths are concerned, all we're seeing is what they call, in biblical terms, the 144,000. Now, when you get that number 144,000, it is definitely a number that's divisible by 12, and this is by no coincidence. When you're having, and if you divided 144,000 by 12, you get 12,000. Okay. So, you should be looking to see 12,000 people almost per month be part of this select group, 144,000. Now, what, in the biblical sense, they say this is in Revelations, that this is a sign of end times, but this total existence is a sign of end times. That's what this is working towards, the sign of the end, but there is really no end. It's only the end of that, so and there's also speculated that it's just 144,000 period, and that's it, that makes it to the kingdom of Christ. Now you got to remember, when you hear that phrase or that term Christ, they'll mix it up. They'll say 144,000 will serve with him, the Christ. When you start getting this is what convolutes the idea of what Christ is. Christ is not a person. It is not a manipulate being that sits in the sky. It's not a he. It's not a she. It's neither one. So you have to watch the word play, because it will confuse you. So you get this 144,000 that is not the entire 144,000 for the entire eternity of existence. It's a monthly thing, and it's a sign of a cycle. Remember, when you're dealing with calendar years, you're dealing with calendar cycles, and you see, as we go through the cycles, it'll start to seem that you're seeing more deaths or more graduations, is a better way of putting it. Okay, graduations, because remember, the 144,000 are the chosen ones who are supposed to rejoin into the Christ. What does that mean? To rejoin back into the light, because Christ really comes from a root word, and I touched on this in the video before, Christius, and it's spelled, I might be spelling this wrong, but I'm going to throw it out there. Try to find the translations or the etymology on the word yourself. I think it's Christallus, Christius. That's kind of like where the word Christ comes from, and it comes back. And after you do the etymology on it, it comes back to the crystal being a prism of light, like Christ, light, same thing. See, this is where it starts to become semantics at that point. So anyhow, the souls they'll return back into the whole light, or the holy light, the whole entire solid light, which is what we call Christ consciousness. Stellar Regime had touched on that in the video that he dropped a couple years back. So with that being said, so you're seeing people graduate into that light. Not saying that all deaths, because there's way more than 12,000 deaths a month. But if you look at certain people who have accomplished certain things in their life, whether it be a famous person, whether it be a bum, whether it be a little child that didn't deserve to die, we have to take away the story, because the story is, oh, he was crossing the street and got hit by a truck. We're so sad. But that's us thinking like humans and thinking like, being very selfish because we want to hold on to the souls that are here because we care. But this is where they talk about, he's in a better place now. Uh, Not necessarily true for everybody, but let's just stick to the 144,000. Those who are the chosen ones will graduate and return back into the holy light, not to come back here, but to go into the solidarity of the light. Now, um, with that being said, what you call or what you is the creator of this physical plane, some people call this entity God, which it should not be confused with what you think or what creation is or creator, but creation. I like to use the word creation because it takes a masculine or a feminine aspect out of it, and you just deal with what it is, creation. So don't confuse what most people call God with what creation is, because creation is really the concept of what we trying to reach as God. God, as we know it, or what in the biblical sense, is a demiurge. It's a creator being that does create, but it is not the end all be all of what creation is. So when you are part of that 144,000, you're escaping the demiurge's grasp and control. So the demiurge reincarnates souls over and over and over, because that's how the demiurge kind of eats. It kind of exists based off of the fact that it traps souls in the physical form and has them incarnate over and over and over. The 144,000 are just the souls that have gotten off of the Ferris wheel and ready to get the fuck on. You know what I'm saying? Get on with they shit. You know what I'm saying? So what we're seeing a lot of is we're seeing a lot of 144,000 more frequently, because now we have smartphones, now we have access to more information. But also, with that being said, time is speeding up as well. So you're getting more of a frequent cycle inside of a cycle. These are time slips. You really, if you're looking at a watch or watching a calendar, you may not be aware of the real time. Real time is a little bit different and has a different feel. You can tell if you want to look at real time, because look how much shit has happened in the last 5 years, from 2015 to 2020. Look how much shit has fucking happened. And that's just 5 years. But because real time is speeding up, not calendar time. Okay? It's a difference. that that which we call a demiurge controls time as well. Uh, or there may be a separate demiurge that controls time, but these are gods. Okay, these are the entities that control us, the entities that have control over the physical time. These are major gods. Okay, so stop playing. Now, um, another thing that the second phase of this video is moving past the 144,000 topic and also getting into what we call the fight for your throne. We'll call it the fight for your throne. And if we look at the pineal gland, and I hate to use that phrase nowadays because it's so cliche, but when you're dealing with the pineal, they call the pineal the seat of the soul. like the throne. So it's the throne to the soul. So basically, if you had a higher realm, a higher plane being the spiritual realm, right? And then you had the physical realm, right? Where those realms meet would be in the area of the pineal. Now, this is where brain physically and mind non-physical meet in the pineal. So you have the non-physical and the physical that meet in the pineal. Okay. Remember the throne of the soul, the pineal. See what I'm saying? It's the seat of the soul, the pineal. Okay. They speak about it in the Bible. Went up to Mount Pineal. You know what I'm saying? This is what it's speaking of. Okay. Now, um, whoever sits on your throne controls your physical. So if you put entities beyond your understanding on your throne, this is why religion is dangerous. It's useful. It can be used in a good way to make you a better person, to give you discipline for sure. But the flip side of it, it can be dangerous as far as your soul's concerned. This is what we're going to talk about later about what happens after you die. So, um, so uh, when you put entities that you worship, it can even be in the form of orishas. It just depends on the person. You don't have to worship, okay? You can work with entities, but you don't have to worship. So when you put these entities as worship on your throne, you sit them on your throne. That's when they show Jesus on the throne, because you're putting Jesus on your throne, right? That's how you keep reincarnating here in the physical, because you can't reach those spiritual plateaus. And the demiurge is really good at using religion to keep you in recycling here. So when you put religion onto your throne, you will keep recycling here. The key is to put you on your throne, your higher self on your throne. That is the first step in Jacob's ladder to reach what we call pure unadulterated divinity. If your higher self, if you have not met your higher self yet, then you're still eating baby food. I don't give a fuck how deep you think you are or how occult in your practice of your magic you are. If you have not met your higher self, done deal. You're coming back here. You got more shit to learn, son. All right. So you need to put yourself on that throne. You have to go inside to put yourself on that throne. And that's where people fuck up at because they don't know. Now, there was a lot of things that I wanted to touch on. I know that I'm probably going to skip a lot because I'm hungry and it's late, but I'm going to try to hit every aspect. Dealing with other entities on your throne um may definitely lead to traps. And the reason being is because, and this is the punchline of the video, what happens after you die, if you do not get off of the cycle and become what they quote unquote call 144,000, quote unquote, being more in contact with your higher self, you will repeat. But if you do awaken, and if you have um come to the end of your cycles of reincarnation, um It's graduation time for you. And part of that graduation time is unfortunately to cut all your ties here in this physical realm. Very hard to do. And that's why a lot of people come back, because one thing that is here in the physical realm that doesn't really exist outside of this place is love. Love keeps you here. Your love for a companion, your love for your children, your love for your parents, your love for just being here because you don't remember anything else. Love keeps you here, and detachment from this place is what lets you graduate spiritually. I know it sounds like some cold shit, but it's true. So, when you see people who are sociopaths, people who have no attachment to the physical realm or to people's lives, they are deemed to be sick people. But are they? Are they? Are they sick? Or have they come to some of their last cycles of reincarnation? So they have to learn the lesson of detachment. Maybe you've learned the lesson in detachment in another life. Maybe you were a sociopath in another life. You've already learned that lesson. But when we get to observe these people who um, 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 dis- display such characteristics, we we're afraid of them, or we look down upon them, or we call it mental illness. A lot of times mental illness ain't mental illness. It's really something that we don't understand. But nonetheless, so even having slight characteristics of sociopathic behavior is not necessarily a bad thing. You just have detached. You know how to detach at will, or something to that effect. You know what I'm saying? And that love thing will keep you here. If you start to master these things, not to say you're just a cold-hearted motherfucker and don't give a fuck about nothing. Nah, you have to come here to know what love is, to know what love isn't. You have to experience love to know what it isn't. You have to experience love to know what it is. So we're here for multiple reasons. But once we start to learn the lessons that we signed up to learn, then we get closer to our graduation. Our graduation is to come here and leave here and not come back. This is what the Egyptians talked about. This is what the I want to say what the Mayan were talking about, or the Inca, for that whole little thing down there, but they kind of got kind of wild with it and lost touch with shit. Um, but they were kind of sociopathic too, because they used to sacrifice a whole bunch of shit. They didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? And but nonetheless, you see where I'm going. Like, if you look back in history, you'll see signs of this ideology. But going back to the Egyptians, right? You know what I'm saying? Their whole thing was death. Their whole premise was come here, leave, get on, and not come back. You know what I'm saying? Or if you did come back, you came back with some bread, some gold, and some goddamn puppies and pots and shit. If you didn't make it past the weighing of the feather and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But their whole thing was dealing with the graduation process, and they're going through the many uh, reincarnations, because the Egyptians dealt or believed heavily in reincarnations. If you look at a lot of deep mythologies or pantheons, even in the Hindu pantheon, they deal with reincarnation heavy over there. You know what I'm saying? Because they do. It's only these newer found ideologies like Christianity that don't deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like what? What? How are you not talking about that? But we know why they don't talk about that. But anyhow, I'm digressing. So, yeah, once you start to master these lessons and you get closer to your last carnation, incarnate, reincarnate. These are all separate words for a reason. But when you come to your last sets of incarnation, you'll start to see that this is when you start to have what they want to deem awakening. Awakening. You know what I'm saying? It's when you start realizing what the fuck is going on and you start understanding the rules. Like right now, what I'm explaining, this is what I'm saying by, if it's not written in a book, they call it pseudo. Or if they can't prove it by someone else's channeling, it's called pseudo. But I'm just telling you that you'll start to reflect and you'll start to know things without being taught. That's part of it. So when you get these people who don't know things without, what I'm saying, being taught, then you already know what it is. But when you start to know things without being taught, it's a sign that you're coming into your last carnations. With that being said, when you do come into your last carnation, it's time for you to graduate. And when you do successfully graduate, you become another you become the master of another universe, He-Man, and the masters of the universe. I'm just playing, but it's deep though when you talk about cartoons, because cartoons drop a lot of science, a lot. Think about it. There was a cartoon called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Wait till I drop the cartoon video, y'all niggas. I know y'all like, you always talk about you finna drop a fucking video and don't do it. Man, I'll be having so many videos ready to drop on you motherfuckers. Wait till I drop the cartoon and video game video. How much game is in them motherfuckers? Woo, shit. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all playing games, literally. Nah, but you become the master or the next god in your own universe with your own planets, with your own laws. That's what happens when you successfully tap into your higher self and walk up those rungs of Jacob's ladder. You have to understand the rungs of Jacob's ladder. You have to understand the Fibonacci sequence and how they both correlate. You have to understand the universal principles. These are all things that I've said, that many people have said in books and videos and YouTube, but motherfuckers just listen and don't put them together or connect the dots. You got to, yo. This is what all of this shit is for. Not for you to just be like, oh yeah, that's deep. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That's deep. Yeah. No, fuck that. All right. So I wish I had something to show you guys. I was gonna do this video on my computer so I can pull up images so you can see. It's better, it's easier to understand with images, but I'll try to explain. If you look at the tree of life and then how it goes into the seed of life and when it goes into the flower of life, and this pattern, this is the pattern that I'm talking about. You start off as the tree, the seed, the flower, and so on and so forth. But that's what I'm trying to get. Is I know it's hard to fucking say this shit. Fuck. But what I'm saying is, once you complete these cycles, you become the next bloom. So you become God trying to absorb or observe itself again. So you are already part of what we call creation, trying to observe itself. That's what the connection between you and what you want to call God is, or creation is. It's creation trying to see itself again. It's a pattern like this. It's creation trying to see itself again. Boom. So once you have seen yourself again and walked up those rungs the right way, it starts all over again. But now, this time, that point is you. That point now is you. So if you look at the tree of life, Keter, now you're Keter. How it goes Keter? Uh, why am I drawing a blank? Keter, Chokma, Bana, Chesed, uh, uh, Devora, blah, 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 da, 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 all the way down to Malkuth. How Malkuth is the bottom sphere, going back to spheres. All the shit you've heard me say before, the spheres, going back down to the sphere of Malkuth, which ultimately becomes Kether again to another tree of life. So this is what I'm trying to show you the pattern. You become God of another tree of life once you die. And if you properly learned your lessons, you become the God sphere of another tree. Now it's you, just like how it could be me, how it could be you or you. And don't look at the tree of life as being flat. It's not flat. It's not flat. So pretty much the basis is what happens if you die is your choice. Whatever you want it to be. You want to follow some other deity, God that has control over you. That's why you're here anyways. Then you're going to reincarnate and that's what you're going to do. You're going to follow that. Once you understand that you are God, then that's what happens. This is why they are very afraid of that phrase, do what thou wilt, because what is that really saying? That's really saying that you are the creator. You still need a pack of them? That's what it's saying. It's still saying long time ago days at the old house, our old house, long time ago days. I saw you. You put it in your butt. You still need a pack of them? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody has ever seen that video with that little kid, but that shit's funny. But anyways, um yeah, this is why they're afraid of that phrase, you know what I'm saying? I hope this video actually stays online. I really, really do. I was really gonna say this for the website because I was very afraid if it will stay, if it was on there. You remember that video? You remember that video? That video is funny. You need a pack of them? I saw you long time ago days at our whole house. So, um, yeah, whatever you want to happen, that's what happens. It's damn near so simple. It's so easy. It's scary. Like, oh, okay, whatever I want. Oh, okay. So no fear. You already know the drill. Keep them third eyes open. Log on, numericalschool.com. For videos like this and more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. But 9 times out of 10, if you're watching this video, you subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I think this is what people are supposed to say. Hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I drop new content. What else? Notification bell, subscribe. I don't care. All right, y'all. I'm finna go, man. And shit. I don't know. drink some water or some shit. And go to work. Go to sleep. Don't go to fucking work. I'm sick of this shit. Oh, and share. Like, share, and subscribe. That's right. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. But like, share, and subscribe. All right, man. I'm gone.